Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race C Race and Strategy Guide. And our first race of 2023 is taking us to Mount Panorama, better known as Bathurst in Australia, in the Group 3 machinery. We get 10 laps to get round, tyre wear at times 8, fuel at times 3. Both the medium and the hard tyre racing tyres are available, both of which are going to be mandatory. BOP is on, damage is light. It's a rolling start and slipstream is real. So yeah, happy new year to you. Happy 2023. Hope you had a good 2022. And here's to lots of good Gran Turismo 7 updates, new cars, new tracks, new features for 2023. But our first race looks fairly interesting. It's a bit of a Gran Turismo staple, I think, Group 3 around Bathurst. Normally it's a no-stopper, and last time we did this I'm pretty sure it was the Beetle that was the best car, but we've definitely got some strategy to work our way through in this one, and I think we're going to have some new dominant or meta cars to race as well. The car we're going to use to test is going to be the Nissan GT-R 2013, yeah. Another week of probably mostly driving the Nissan GT-R. Now I think there should be a few other cars that should be capable of at the very least holding their own around this track. Thinking of the Mustang, the Jaguar, maybe the Corvette, maybe the Supra as well. And I'm very interested to see how the Suzuki VGT that kind of came to the fore at Deep Forest Raceway in round 1 of the GTWS. I'm wondering how that car is going to perform round here, but I can't see in any way that the Nissan GT-R from 2013 won't at the very least be competitive around this combination. So let's move on to the strategy. I'm going to kind of basically break this one down into 3 elements. We're going to look at the medium tyres, we're going to look at the pit stop, and we're going to look at the hard tyres. And when we've gathered all the information that we need from there in terms of tyre life, performance and losses, etc., we should be able to formulate a variety of strategies. So first up, let's talk about the medium tyres, the softer of the two compounds available along with the hard tyres. Now, the tyre wear is at times 8, which is pretty high, but Bathurst is not a particularly tyre hungry track. There's not too many fast corners out that work the tyre particularly hard, so you can maybe go a little bit further into this race on the medium tyres than you might actually first expect. Now, from my testing, depending on how good you are at looking after tyres, you're either going to get 6 laps, 7 laps or 8 laps out of the medium tyres. I think if you're on the pad, kind of bad on tyres, you're more looking at 6 laps. If you're pretty good on tyres, you're looking at 7 laps. If you're very good on tyres, then you can actually stretch them for an 8th lap. We want to come in here at the end of lap 7, but you can see from the tyre wear indicator there is another lap in those tyres if necessary. But we're going to come into the pits, and possibly the most dangerous pit entry in sim racing. Now, it's so easy to misjudge your braking coming into this twisty part of the pit lane in Bathurst and ending up in that tyre wall there to the right hand side. You will definitely see some people do that. If you cross the curbs as well, I think you pick up a 5-second penalty, but if you hit the tyres there, then you get reset to the track. You can't just reverse and then go into the pits. I've done it. I've watched a number of streamers do it live on stream as well. It is funny, it has to be said. It is funny when you see somebody doing it, but yeah, not funny if it happens to be you that does it as well. And on the exit of the pitch, you have to be especially careful as well of the white line, because if you're not aware, if you're not awake, the car will try and throw you off to the right hand side over the white line, and you'll pick up a 3-second pit line cutting penalty as well. So as you exit the pits, make sure you've got a little bit of pressure on the stick or the wheel to the left hand side to make sure the car stays within that white line. When it's all said and done, you'll lose about 19 seconds in the pit lane. Fuel is no issue whatsoever, but yeah, just a lot of caution to be exhibited on the entry into the pits and also on that exit. To quote Scotty SNR, friend of the channel and also a YouTuber, don't end up with a big red face. Moving on to the hard tyres, how are these hard tyres going to perform? Obviously you're not going to have any problems with how long you have to drive on them. I think the maximum you're going to be doing on the hard tyres is 4 laps. In terms of lap time, around about 1 second slower than the medium tyres, which is round about standard. Obviously if you move on to the hard tyres in the second part of the stint, you have burned off quite a bit of fuel, so we didn't do a very good lap there on lap 9, a 204.4, but our second lap in the hard tyres, a 203.7, was actually fairly decent. In terms of finishing time, you're looking at around about 21 minutes, I'd guess maybe 20 minutes 30 seconds for the super fast aliens, but nice length of Daily Race C. Means there's not too much waiting about between races if you happen to be streaming like me, which is always a bonus. But I think that's all the elements looked at. We've looked at the medium tyres, we've looked at the pit stop, we've looked at the hard tyres. Let's move on to those all-important strategy options. So, start on the medium tyres. If you happen to be starting on the medium tyres, I'd only recommend starting on the medium tyres if you are towards the front of the grid. Certainly no lower than P4. Apologies for the fireworks going off there. It's a couple of hours until the bells go off here in Scotland. But yeah, and just depending on how good you are at looking after tyres, you're either looking at 6 laps, 7 laps or medium laps. If you're on the pad, if you're just bad on tyres, then you're maybe going to just do the 6 medium, 4 hard. If you're pretty decent on tyres, you can do that extra lap on the medium tyres and then just 3 laps on the hard tyres. And if you happen to be in a car that's probably light on its tyres, or you just happen to be absolutely a twinkle toes on the tyres, you can maybe look at doing 8 medium, 2 hard. The better or the further you manage to go into the race on the medium tyres, the less likely you are to run into traffic as well. So being able to look after those tyres is definitely going to be of benefit. Moving on to the hard medium strategies, which is what most people are going to do. Certainly starting anywhere back from P4, I would recommend starting on the hard tyres. Again, 4 hard, 6 mediums if you're very, very bad on tyres. You are vulnerable to the undercut, of course, if you do this as well, to other people who are doing a shorter stint on the hard tyres. 3 hard, 7 medium, I would say this is probably the optimal strategy in terms of tyre performance. So if you have no interruptions with other cars around you, this is probably going to be the best strategy to do. But do remember, if you start at the front on that strategy, you're possibly pitting into some traffic. Big undercut potential from the 2 hard and the 8 medium strategy. That tyre saving is going to be needed. You will be vulnerable on the last lap. And I've put 1 hard, 9 mediums, huge undercut potential, car dependent, big tyre saving required. Your tyres will be at the end. It's a bit of a Hail Mary strategy, but I definitely can see somebody giving it a try and possibly making it work. But that's pretty much it wrapped up for the strategy. Let's move on to a lap guide, and we're going to be in the Nissan GTR coming down towards turn 1 here at Bathurst. So looking for a braking marker between the 100 metre and the 50 metre board. I used the photographer in the blue jacket. I know I can't go quite as deep as the photographer as my braking point, so somewhere just before him is my reference for turn 1. Need to get a good exit as you come on to, I believe this is called the Mountain Straight at Bathurst. So nice long straight, overtaking opportunity at the end, moving the car over to the left hand side of the track. Looking for just after the 100 metre board, the kind of exit road there as well. Get the car into the camber, but try not to get up on that curb. The curbs are very slippy at Bathurst and also in this car. A little bit of a lift off the throttle through the kink, then down into second gear again, try and get into that camber to help the car around, but it can also upset the car as well. Avoid that curb on the inside. The GTR likes to slip on that. Through the left-hander here, it's just a lift off the throttle as we come up over the mountain now, and it's just about getting the line right here. It's just a lift off the throttle, maybe a little dab on the brakes if necessary. Avoid the curb here for the left-hander on the outside of the track. It will upset the car. There is a bump there as well. Get the car over the crest before you hit the accelerator. Then just coming down the hill, it's all about threading the needle, coming down through the gears, just trail braking. You're not using 100% brake really at any point, because if you lock the rears, then the car starts to slide. Get the car over to the right hand side to get the best exit out of Forest Elbow, because we're going onto a very long straight. I think this is called the Concord Straight. Again, very decent overtaking opportunity here. This is where your car's horsepower all comes to play. Coming up over the crest of the hill, it's very narrow, so if you are defending, pick your side, move the car all the way over to that side, respect your opponent. Come down through the kink here towards the chase, 150 metre board just after that, down into second gear. That curb on the inside, you do want to use it, but it can upset the car as well. And as you try to accelerate out the second part of the chase, you sometimes get a little bit of oversteer, so do be careful of that. And just between the 50 and the 100 metre board for, is this Murray's Corner, I do believe, is your braking reference there. But that's a lap of Bathurst and the Nissan GTR. Do check out some of the other guides out there, Mr. Digit, Tidney, probably a few other folk as well who will do much more comprehensive lap guides of this track. You will get much more tips and expertise out of them than you will from mine. But yeah, interesting race, decent start to 2023, I think it's fair to say. A little bit of strategy in there, definitely some options to try and make something work, which is a little bit better than what we had at Suzuka. I think there's a little bit more flexibility in the strategy in terms of being able to be pit on different laps. Unfortunately, I suspect it will become a GTR 1 make, but for the vast majority of people, but I do think you should be able to make some other cars work as well. You know me, I shall certainly do my very best to try and upset the apple cart and use something different. So do join me for some live streams over the course of the week if you can. You'll find the chat a very friendly place. We're lovely to see you in there. If you've enjoyed the video, please do hit that like button, please do hit that subscribe button. Once again, Happy New Year. Here's to a good Gran Turismo 2023. Thank you very much for watching, folks, and I shall catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.